Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Money Stop. It's been a little bit since we've talked to you guys. Um, we've got a lot to talk about tonight. We haven't had an episode, as I said, in a little bit, so um, we got a lot to cover, at least with talking about this past weekend in Milwaukee and covering Vegas and Pocono. We got a little bit to talk about with that. So, uh, Laner, let's dive right into Milwaukee. Um, I, I don't even know really where to start with Milwaukee because you kind of whooped everybody's ass. To give it a lack of more better way to say it, but um, you led um, 89 laps in the race, and you definitely whooped everybody's ass, I would say. So first of all, congratulations to you and your
Thank you.
team. That win locks you guys into the championship four, and you guys will go against myself, Land, and Wendigo for the cup on Saturday. Um, I just want to say too that I think watching you win that race, it was very different from some of your other wins. I definitely got like a different vibe from that. I'm glad you won the race, but it seemed like very emotional from your end. So, but yeah, walk me through the race from your end, and you know how you guys are feeling. We have the trophy here in the middle, so walk me through how you guys are feeling after the race.
Yeah, that was definitely the biggest win of my career, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know, man. Like it just with everything that went into that win and everything that that win means. Um, yeah, I was literally like tearing up after the race. I mean, this has been the longest season in the history of road car. I mean, we started this season like I don't even know, like 5 or 6 months ago. I mean, there's a lot that goes into this season, and to come into this race tied in points with Craigus and go out there and dominate like that, it just really meant a lot, and it really validated uh, me like as a driver, um, and I do want to say that like congratulations to Craigus and that team. Like they had an outstanding season, and I'm not taking anything away from them when I say these things. But for me to go out there and do the things that I did, it really like it it gives me validation. Like I belong here, and like I can still do this. Because you go through spells where you don't win races, and you don't know, you know. So
Hmm.
to do that in that situation, man, it really like it was a big win. Um, and now we're locked into the championship, and we have to put that behind us and focus on Texas. But yeah, like by far, definitely the biggest win of my career. And whenever you have a season that is this long, those wins just mean that much more. And I'm sure the losses mean that much more. I'm sure Craigus is very disappointed, and I understand that you have such a long season and everything just gets amplified. So yeah, I'm just ecstatic about the win, and our team did an amazing job.
Something I want to ask you is this win, well, is this win that locked you into the championship four, is it different from anything last season? Um, Obviously, it was a very different situation last season, but you know, this gives your team momentum going into this weekend. So, uh, kind of what would you say is different from when you guys locked yourselves in last season, if anything?
Well, uh, every single season that I've raced full time, I've made the championship for. It's almost gotten to a point where I go into the season expecting to be there, and that was another reason that this win meant so much to me. Is because every season I go in with expectations of making the final four. Um, I've only raced two full time seasons before, but I made the final four in both of those, so I didn't expect anything less this season. But last season we won two races in the opening round, and we had to battle in on points. But yeah, I don't really know if it gives us momentum because at the same time, like I had to focus solely on Milwaukee. Like couldn't catch myself looking forward to Texas. Um, because I didn't know if I was even going to be there. So I really haven't even had that much time to catch my breath and realize like we're racing for a championship on Saturday. It really hasn't even sat into me yet. So yeah, I don't know about momentum, but I do think that all four drivers that are racing for the championship are going to kind of be on an equal playing field in my opinion. So I mean it's a good win, but at the end of the day I don't really think it gives us any clear advantage.
Okay. Interesting. Um, well, just kind of talking a little bit about the race a little bit. I wrote down some stuff just from my thoughts, I guess, on the race. But compared to the last few weeks, in particular, last weekend's doubleheader and the round before, um, the race was really calm. I noticed little to no complaints, if anything. There was one or two instances here and there with the officiating, but overall, that was maybe the calmest race I've seen all season from everybody. Just in terms of like the driving and the way like we're all talking to each other. Um, it was very, very quiet, very calm. And we kind of just ran our own race. Um, we were very mindful of where we were racing. Like there was a lot of bigger runs. I would say like going into turn one, it was easy to build up a big run. Um, so like depending on what drivers did with that, they either let the run die out or they tried to get under somebody. But in terms of the way people were racing, it was very, very calm compared to the last few weeks. So I was really happy about that because it didn't ruin anybody's night. I feel like, you truly had to work for it. Um, and, it set up for a good elimination race, I think. It wasn't messy. It wasn't something that like nobody enjoyed. And, your win kind of topped the cake just with how the race played out, I think. And so yeah, it was a really good race, I would say. And Milwaukee is a lot of fun. I did not race there last season. Instead, I commentated the race when we had that closest finish. You know, I had a lot of fun. Um, and if that track ends up on the schedule next season, I might just add that to my bucket list maybe to run that race because I at least enjoyed myself. So, but yeah, I don't know what your thoughts were on at least how you saw the race uh, environment.
Uh, I I enjoyed the race but I mean I also, not to sound cocky, I led most of the laps, so I don't really know how it was throughout the field. I had to come from the back like maybe once or twice, but it seemed like a clean race. I didn't. I mean there were a few times where people would give me some pretty big shoves to try to bump me out of the way, but I don't know. It seemed like the bump and run wasn't really that efficient at Milwaukee. Because anytime somebody would give me a big shot like that to try to take the lead from me, it didn't really like push me out of the groove. I don't know if that was for everybody or I don't know, but I mean, yeah, there we kind of had some issues with people pushing into the corners for a little bit, but I think as the race went on, things kind of calmed down a little bit. And I don't know. We really only had like one or two big wrecks throughout the whole race too. So
Yeah, and I
things
was
kind of
involved in
played
both
out.
of those. Yeah.
Yeah. But for the most part, things played out pretty naturally. Like we didn't have a lot of overtime restarts or any of that fluky stuff. Um, there was a lot of strategy involved. We had green flag pit stops in every stage, so things really played out pretty naturally from my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. The tires wore very fast, and
Yeah.
it created a great strategy call down at the end too, because Land and Craigus pitted a lot earlier. So when the rest of the field pitted, they had a little bit of a gap, and the mission right to the end was to just try and eat that gap up, and it was very easy to as the tires wore for them. But something I also noticed too was that I think it was either the end of the first or second stage where we had the pit and we were coming down to the wire. We were running you down. You got out very far. So I think the I guess a good way to say it would be like the leader at Milwaukee is never safe if you're leading. Maybe just keep that in mind for the future. But yeah, I would say nonetheless it was a good race just with how it played out. Another thing I want to point out too is GFM wasn't strong. They didn't really show any kind of competitive speed this past weekend. I was expecting to see a lot out of Land and Wendigo. I know that they're already locked in, so they don't have anything to worry about. But it's a very they're a very competitive organization week in and week out, and I surprisingly just didn't see them uh, contend much this past weekend. Um, but I don't know the reason behind that. That's just something that I noticed. Um, Again, they locked themselves in the past 2 weeks, so really nothing to worry about. But just something I noticed. Um, any comment
Yeah,
on
I'm
that or
kind
no?
of I'm kind of thinking that that organization has already shifted their focus to preparing for Texas. I think uh well, if Jax had showed up for Milwaukee, I think he probably would have ran um pretty competitive, but unfortunately he wasn't able to make it, so we'll never know what kind of speed the 23 would have brought. But
Right.
yeah, I think as an organization, they're probably shifting their focus onto preparing those cars for Texas, is what I would guess.
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably it's probably a good guess. Just going over some of the laps led for the race this past weekend. So Laner, you obviously led the most with 89. Craigus led 19. Land led 9. I led 7. Wendigo led 1. And Lego led no laps, surprisingly. And Icy led no laps.
I'm
So
surprised to see that Icy didn't lead any.
yeah, yeah, me too. Um, but there is your laps led. We're gonna update as well with the total laps led. I don't have it up on the screen, but just reading off of what I have. So Land is your total laps leader at 404. Um, then I'm right behind him at 388. Craigus is at 214. Laner's at 187. Wendigo's at 165. Lego's at 127. And then the rest down are kind of, you know, the rest are as they go because nobody's been at the races. So it'll be interesting to see who ends up leading the most laps for the season, um, given that Land and I are so close together. But moving on for a second here, because we haven't had an episode since Pocono and Vegas as well, so we also have to mention those. Um, Vegas and Pocono were very, very interesting. Pocono, I was not there, but I rewatched some of the stream, and I know that there was some controversy around the way Wendigo won the race, from what I grasped, but he still won. Like I think regardless, he still won the race. So uh, you can't really just call him out for winning the race in a controversial way because we've had people win races in a lot more controversial ways, I think, and you know I just think he still won the race and he earned it, and he's in, and that's how it is. That's how this system is. um and we are now in a situation where he is in the championship four. So, regardless of how he won the race, he still won the race, and he did what he had to do to get himself into the race. So I respect that. Um, so Pocono was won by Wendigo. Later, I'll get to your thoughts in a second. Just kind of um, recapping it. Uh, Vegas was won by Land, uh, and I mentioned before that they had locked themselves in. So um, yeah, it was definitely an interesting last 2 weeks. It's been very controversial, I would say, the last 2 weeks for the league. Well, before this, but um, just kind of looking at the laps led from Vegas. So Land overall led the laps at 52, and then I led 17 laps. Tied for third is Craigus and Jax with 7 laps led, and Lego led 2 laps. And then Pocono, when Digo had the most laps led, he also won the race with 16 laps led. Then tied for second are Jackson Laner at 13. Craigus is fourth with 9 laps led. Then Land at 8, Icy at 6, Aiden with 3, and then Lego with 2. So, uh, Laner, I'll get your thoughts. What would you say was the biggest thing that came out of those 2 races? Because they were only held a day apart. We kind of had a last minute doubleheader. What would you say was the biggest thing that came out of those 2 races? Just looking maybe like overall at the league or um, kind of what came out of those 2 races.
Um, I mean, Pocono had good racing, I suppose. Like I enjoyed Pocono. I thought the racing was good. Um, Vegas, I don't know. Vegas was just kind of that's I don't really talk about Vegas, but I will say that maybe the fact that I mean, we all agreed on it in the board, but I wonder if using the new track model,
You have left.
especially with
You kind of left the game. We lost you.
yeah, oh, my bad.
Oh, good. We're
But
bringing him back, guys.
um,
Don't worry.
I wonder if using the new track model for Vegas, especially with such short notice, like we literally just held it one day after Pocono. Nobody really had any track time on that new model of Vegas. Could have maybe played a part into that. Also, with Pocono already being such a controversial race, I don't know. In hindsight, we probably shouldn't have held the doubleheader. Um, I know that Craigus has said that if he could do it over again, that he would not have done that. So I don't know. I mean, we can't change anything. It happened. It probably wasn't a great idea in hindsight, but you know, uh, yeah, we just had 2 very controversial races. Not to take anything away from Wendigo and Land, they both earned their wins. So, um, yeah, just the racing was very controversial.
Yeah, and I think going back to your thing about the track time, um, because it was held on such short notice, I think it's unfair to not give proper notice. Like these cars are changing so much with the packages, and they react different. The cars react different at different tracks. So we're not going full throttle at every track anymore. So there's no excuse for why we should be doing last minute races. I think like people should be entitled to having proper track time and practice. I think that's only fair.
Yeah,
So
I
obviously, yeah, I think it's something that was a mistake for this season, but should be learned for next season. Not to maybe repeat, because I think on a shorter schedule, not really sure what the schedule is going to look like, but I would assume it's not going to be nearly as long as how this season was. There should be no reason why we can't wait a week for each race, because you know I understand too the need to kind of push to the finish here, but um I think the reason why the race was so messy was in part because people had no track time, and uh, it was a new model. You know, nobody had raced on that model before, and we even had to go back to the old model. So you know, it created a mess that could have easily been avoided, I think.
Yeah, I will say in hindsight, if we were going to do the doubleheader, we probably should have just stuck with the old version of Vegas, the one that most of us have experience on, except for maybe like one or two people that hadn't. Actually, I think everybody except for Jax had raced on that older version. So if we were going to do the doubleheader, probably we should have just did the whole race on the older model. But it's over. You can't change it. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Um, Again, I wasn't at Pocono, so I can't really attest to that and how the performance was there. But I think Vegas, like I enjoyed um, the racing, just strictly the racing. Um, the BS that was attached to it, I did not obviously enjoy. But um, I think you know I'll give this last kind of note before we move on because we've got a couple other things to talk about. But um, I think Vegas kind of encapsulated what has been this whole season. I think I like, and I don't want to sound like a hater by any means, but at some point you have to get real because you know I can't think of one time where uh, somebody enjoyed the experience this season besides maybe this past weekend. Um, I was really upset with how the race was, you know, coordinated like last weekend. Um, and I don't think it's anybody's fault. I think it's just how the nature of the league has been the past few months. You know, it's just that's how it's been, you know. I don't know. But I think at least it kind of encapsulates, you know, what the season has been. Um, it was an embarrassment, I would say, too, on some levels, just to watch us argue, and you know that was all on a live stream too.
Hmm.
Just to watch us argue for an hour and a half, 2 hours, it was childish, and I'm glad it's over at least. But yeah, it sucks for everybody, everybody involved, but uh, we got through it somehow, and yeah, we are wrapping things up this weekend. So uh, should be interesting to see how we close out. But um, let's move on for time's sake. Um, so I would like to take a minute to recognize a beautiful scheme that I'm going to be running this weekend. It is my final paint scheme, and I want to thank Craigus again for making this because it was kind of last minute, but you know, we had to figure out like what I wanted to run and then get all the pictures together kind of quickly. So I just wanted to throw something together for my final start, and I'm glad it came out really, really nice. So thanks again for him. Thanks again to him for agreeing to make it, and you know, it looks beautiful. I'm glad it came out so good. The inspiration behind it was the 2017 Furniture Row car that Martin Truex Jr. ran. So we were kind of going for that. And there's pictures down at the bottom that runs along one of the stripes on the car, just with some memories over the years. And there's a nice message on the back of the car too. I didn't take a picture of it, but everybody will get a chance to see it this weekend. So um, I'm very much looking forward to running this car and hoping we can go out on a high note. You know, it's very bittersweet. You know that it's coming to a close this weekend. I remember when I announced my retirement, and it felt like forever ago, and just how fast the time has flown from then to now. And yeah, it's surreal, kind of. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting out on track, along with the other three drivers, just as much as they are, and hopefully we can go out on a high note. But already off to a great start with a great paint scheme. So yeah, looking forward to it. Just wanted to kind of shamelessly plug that um, on the stream while we're kind of in between topics. But okay, let's move on um, to the final four. So the final four is Land, myself, Laner, and Wendigo. Who do you like out of these four? And we can't talk about ourselves, like only the other person, I guess. Like I could talk about you, but you can't talk about
Yeah.
yourself. Who would you say you like out of these guys, out of this bunch?
Um, I don't know, man. We got a really good group for the final four. I think it's hard to pick against you and Land. I mean, you guys have been here in this moment many times before. You've both won championships. So, also, you guys both have the most wins on the season, and you've both led the most laps this season. So, for me, it's really hard to pick against you two. Um, so yeah, I don't know if I'm giving my pick right now. But you guys are definitely the ones that I have my eye on going into this weekend.
Well, we're gonna give our picks later, so you're not really giving it away right now. But
Yeah, and I Wendigo will have a shot for sure. I mean, I'm not saying he's not going to have a chance. I think all four drivers are going to have an equal chance when it comes down to it. Just because of, as we've seen these intermediate races, uh, they kind of race like super speedways. So yeah, I think everyone's going to have a shot.
yeah, for sure. I kind of have a case for everybody. Um, and I'm not I'm not gonna say favorites because I think everybody kind of has their own reason. Um, if you look at Land, he's the defending series champion, and his future is kind of like up in the air. It seems like life is just happening right now for him. Um, so I'm not going to start any speculation, but um, you know, life happens, and I don't know, if he is guaranteed to be here 2, 3, 4 seasons down the road. I'm sure he would like to be, but I think you know he is the defending champ, so you could make a case for him that there's no better way to go out on top than winning it. Before we move back to Rokar, and that team has just been fast all season long. They've been super consistent, super fast, and they're up to 5 wins now. And I think you know they won in Vegas, so they didn't have like the most time to prepare for the race, but they've definitely shifted their focus, and I definitely think that uh, they're going to be fast and definitely going to be competitive. He keeps saying that he's terrible at Texas, but um, it, it's going to be a clean slate, I think, for everybody this weekend because the package is different, and you know I can't remember the last time we ran a race at Texas. I think it's at least been a little while now. Um, so everybody's kind of going to be on the same page. I don't think anybody really has the advantage or anybody's going to be better over one another. Um, but I definitely expect them to be competitive. I don't expect them to run in the back all night. Definitely going to be leading laps and be up there fighting for it. You, uh, I don't even know. I wrote down a couple notes here, but I think for you, my main case is that your team has momentum and you guys are motivated. You guys are hungry as well. Like I saw it last week, but I can't. There's no excuse why you guys aren't just as hungry, if not more, to win the championship this weekend. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out because again, it's all going to come down to strategy. But when it comes to strategy, you guys have been making, I would say, the most consistently best calls all season long. Um, I would definitely say that you guys uh, are gonna be upfront. Um, well, everybody's gonna be upfront because it's just us four. But like I expect
Yeah.
those to be those that want it the most. I expect them to be up there. Um, if you run in the back all night and you just want to be up front at the end, I don't think you're gonna win the championship. I honestly don't. You have to be up front leading laps to see what you got. Um, you can't pull a RoMuscle 500 strategy. I'm sorry, that's just not going to cut it with a field of four cars. I honestly don't think the race is going to come down to. Uh, I don't think the race is going to come down to like crash filled kind of ending.
Yeah.
I think it's going to play out like last season too, and that's also kind of why I had land circled too. Um, because they made the right call last season with that final stop in Darlington, and it put them out like I don't know 6 seconds or something like that in front of me. So yeah, I definitely have you and Land circled, and Wendigo. I also have circled as well because I think he's new. This is his first time in the championship four, but I think that that team has showed just the right amount um, of winning speed all season long. Um, they've been fast week in and week out, and they have been up there every week for the win. Um, and he only has one win to show it, but if you look at his stats, it's just plain day. Um, just looking at everything, but I would say that that team is definitely circled for me too as kind of like an underdog, kind of. But an underdog is not a bad thing at all. We've all been underdogs at one point in our career, and that's kind of how you work your way up. He didn't have a breakout season, but he definitely should be a threat for Saturday, I think. Um,
Yeah. I mean, they did what they needed to do. They made it to the championship. So,
Yeah, I know I'm kind of going on a long rant, but I just wanted to kind of list why I think everybody has an equal shot. But I don't know if you have anything else to add or any more thoughts in addition to what I said.
um, I mean, no, I pretty much agree with you. I think track position will matter. Um, you're gonna want to be out front, especially with no stages. Whenever that final, actually, scratch that because all the pit stops are going to be important with no stages. You're going
Hmm.
to want to be out front. So whenever the pit stops start, you cycle towards the front.
Hmm.
If you have a good pit stop, you could find yourself 5 or 6 seconds in front of the rest of the field. So you ideally want to be leading the whole night to really put yourself in a good position. Um, and yeah, I mean, yeah, Wendigo's definitely an underdog, but I think that team is more than capable of winning a championship. They've been fast all season long, and all they have to do is go out there and just make a good strategy, and they'll be in it. So I could make a case for any of the four, honestly.
Yeah, and something I'm gonna note too is that I was gonna talk about this when we previewed the race, but I'll just mention it now, and then we can chat about it a little later. Um, GFM is gonna have crew chiefs this weekend. Um, they're gonna have uh, an earful of somebody making the calls on the other side. Um, and as far as our team has decided, as the organization, I don't think SSR is agreeing on having crew chiefs. So, um, we're going to be riding uh, alone this weekend. But I think that will definitely play into some of the strategy calls as well because um, it'll be hard to predict. We don't have crew chiefs every week. Crew chiefs can't see the data. It'll be hard to predict making those calls from a crew chief standpoint, but I think that, if things go well and um, you know, it works down to the end, I think you could definitely see the right calls being made from that team to put them up front um, at the end. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out because, we don't ever have crew chiefs. So, it's new, but it'll be nice to, have somebody there, I'm sure, for them. Um, but definitely going to feel weird because we're the ones making the call every week. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, no offense to the crew chiefs for GFM, but I think my prediction at least is that it'll still come down to the drivers. I think at the end of the day, Land is still going to be the one making the call to come to pit road, and Wendigo is still going to be the one making the call to pit road, which I think that's how it should be for the sake of their teams because they're the ones with the data. They're the ones that can see their tires and their fuel. So I mean, I'm not going to tell them how to run their race, but I would definitely, I would hope that they're making educated decisions and not listening to somebody on the pit box that doesn't even have access to the data. Um, I think it's good for like moral support or like maybe, but
Hmm.
in terms of actually making like legitimate calls, I don't know that the crew chiefs will be able to do much.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I think uh, that's at least it for my case. I think for me, um, I don't think I have any favorites circled because, again, I can make a case for everybody on why they could end up being the champion. Um, but I think we did a good job with at least covering um, who we're looking at. So those are the final four who will compete for a championship this weekend. Everybody else will be out of the race. It'll just be those four cars on track. It'll be 85 laps, no stages. Um, 7:30 is when practice kicks off. 7:45 followed with qualifying, and then the green flag will fly at 8 p.m. Um, it's going to be a long race, but it's going to be a strategy race, I believe. Usually, the championship race, I would say, doesn't really have any crashes. I think it just depends on the track. Like Darlington, we had a couple just because it was tight. Um, but Texas, there's a lot more room to stretch out.
Yeah.
And when the strategy starts coming in, and people start having to make pit stops um, and make those important calls, I think that's where things will start to get spread out. And something I want to talk about is the gaps that we might see because it could come to a point where the gap gets so big that you might not even be able to make up um, that gap. You can't make that gap back up. That's basically what I'm trying to say. So I wondered down at the wire, down at the end of the race, if somebody will make the right call to put them out far enough ahead where somebody can't pick up draft, if that makes sense. I don't really think like I don't really think tires are going to be like that important this weekend. Um, so you could probably stretch it a little bit. Um, but like if somebody pits and somebody's still out on old tires, I don't know if there's an advantage there, like as compared to somewhere like Milwaukee. I don't know where the
Yeah.
advantage is, but
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like tire wear hasn't meant as much on the intermediates this season. So, like staying out or pitting early, like it's not really gonna mean that much. I wish it did. I really wish we had more tire wear at the intermediates, but just from what we've seen so far this season, I don't really expect that.
Yeah, I agree. Um, let's look at solely like the race though. Obviously I mentioned strategy. What are you looking at in addition to strategy, maybe that you think will affect the race this weekend?
Um, I don't know. Texas has always been my favorite intermediate track on road car. Uh, I have a lot of fun at that track, but really, there's only one way to get around that track, and I have a feeling that people are not going to be afraid to use the bumper this weekend.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You can't really feel safe if you get good track position because those guys behind you are probably gonna take it just as quick as you get it. So I don't know. I don't really think we'll know what to expect until we start seeing pit stops. Because whenever we are all four in a pack, it's just going to be constant position changes, in my opinion. I think that it's just going to be a lot of bumping um, and position changes. I don't really see people being content with just riding in line. Like if you're in fourth place, are you really just going to ride in line and let the three guys ahead of you just be ahead of you? Like, I mean, at some point you got to make up some ground. So that's really the only way to do it.
Yeah, and I think another thing too will be like how you approach the corners, and managing your runs. Well, managing blocking runs, I think, is going to be crucial because it's two organizations against each other this weekend. There's no outlier. It's two cars from two organizations this weekend. So I think like we're going to see a lot of uh, pushing and shoving, but I think, the leader will have a lot of work to do, whoever's leading, to try and uh, block the runs that may be coming at the right time. And I think, like, with track approaching, you have to approach turn one and two different every time. Um, sometimes a car may be closer than the previous lap. Sometimes they may be under you. Sometimes they may be trying to pass you or they take you out. But turns one and two, I think, are definitely like the most difficult, at least with approaching. Because the key is wrapping the bottom. But if you can't wrap the bottom, that allows a car to really close in on you if they can approach that turn better than you did. So I think like just the consistency is going to be key, and blocking those runs will be key as well. Um, but yeah, I think at least for the race we can say it's going to be crazy, because either we'll have a first time champion or a multi time champion. Um,
Either way, yeah,
yeah, there will be a
got a
first time champion
50-50
or a
shot.
multi time champ. If I'll just walk everybody through like if they win, Laner or Wendigo would be your first, and Land would be a three-time champion, and I would be a two-time champion. So there's a lot of stakes this weekend, and a lot's on the line. So it could go either way, I think. And that's why I really say that there's no favorites because it could really, really go any way. The season's been good for kind of the variety of things. We've had different winners all season long, um, which has been a good thing. I always love to see the variety and the just the different guys that find victory lane. It's been refreshing to see all season long. And now it's down to four, and it could swing either way. So um, definitely looking forward to getting on the track, like I said earlier, and seeing what our team has, but also just feeling out what the other guys have, and who can prove to be maybe the favorite early on. Um, Anything else you want to mention with the championship race before we make our picks?
Um, well, I didn't know if we wanted to kind of go over how it shaped out, like I know we all predicted Craigus being in. Like, I guess, are you surprised with the way that it turned out, or did you kind of expect at least one wild card to get into the championship for?
Um, to be honest, I'm not really sure. Um, because the thing is that Craigus has been just as fast as Wendigo. You know, uh they've been just as fast as each other, and it's it was so hard to tell like who was gonna be in because Craigus was in last season. So it was gonna be hard to tell. I think like we had the top two or three kind of figured out already in our minds, but uh, I am a little surprised, but also I'm not because again, like I said, that Wendigo has been fast all season long, and I think
Yeah,
that that team has really proven that they can go deep in the playoffs and make some noise and um, really show people what they're about. And that's exactly what they have done. I think that that team has really overperformed and done a great job all season long. And just the way they approach the track has been really um, something neat to see because I feel like you can never have a driver in the series that like either they'll go out and they'll win or they'll go out and suck. And there's no in between. And Wendigo show that there is an in between. You can go out and win, but you can also lose the race, but also turn out with a great result. And that's I think what that team has done a great job of doing all season long. Um, but no, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I'm surprised. It is refreshing to see a new face in the championship four, but I wouldn't say I'm totally surprised.
yeah. I think once they won at Pocono, it kind of upped the ante for the rest of the round of six drivers. Um, just because at that point we knew things were not going to be status quo.
Hmm.
Um, and we knew like the people who were in last season, me, you, Landon, Craigus, we knew one of us was going to get left out. So at that point, we all had to perform at our best. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah,
I think it really made a statement too because he was the first one to lock in out of the four
yeah,
drivers, and I you know I think that win was really a statement. It was coming, the win was coming either way, but it was definitely a statement win, and it came at just the perfect time. I would say um, if he didn't win that day or that race, I don't think he would have been in.
yeah. And Craigus really did have an outstanding season. Um, and I think that that team shouldn't hang their head over this one. They really did prove that they had a lot of speed this season.
Hmm.
I mean, at the beginning of the season, we were counting them out. Like we didn't even know if they were going to win a race, and they went off and won four races. So
Well, again, he did move teams, so
yeah,
we had that little stretch of really really rough races for that team, and he switched teams, and then just with the
went on
snap
a
of a
run.
finger started winning races. So
Yeah,
it'll be
but
interesting to
I
see.
sorry, I really think this season was a breakout year for him. I mean,
Oh
I
yeah,
know he
for
made the
sure.
final four last season, but like this was by far his most. I don't know if I would say most consistent year, because the beginning of the season was kind of rough, but like in terms of winning races, it was definitely a breakout year for him.
Oh yeah, for sure. I couldn't agree more with you. I think you know 4 wins is definitely an achievement, and they came up just short. Um, but I think like if you put it this way, you had to win the race to get in, and so did he. You guys couldn't point your way in. So I think just I think it was too close. It was very very close all race long, and the team came up just short. But that's nothing to be dejected about. You guys still had a great season, and um, definitely have a lot to be proud of. It's definitely a good season for them.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to touch on that for a little bit.
No, no, you're good. Um, I want to say too, like I don't know if you do you want to wait until next week to talk about like those who missed the championship four, or missed the playoffs, or missed the next round. Maybe like what we expect to see out of them next season.
I mean, we could talk about it now. I mean, it's not going to change much from now to next week, in my opinion.
No, I don't know. Do you want to do our championship picks first since we're already kind of on the topic?
Yeah, yeah, we should.
All right. Do you want to go first or should I?
I can go.
All right.
Um, it's a tough. I'm not picking myself. I refuse to pick myself. So, for me, it's a tough decision between you and Land. Um, but this is not bias here because I own the team. I'm gonna go with you because Land already has two championships. I'm not saying he doesn't want a third championship. I'm sure he does, and I know he's going to be going for it just as hard as everybody else. But for you in your retirement season, I know that you're going to be extra motivated. I know you would want nothing more than to win the championship on your way out. You've been fast every single week. So for me, I have you winning it. Your last race, I have you winning the championship.
Interesting. Okay. All right. All right. Well, I'm not gonna, you know, really sauce it up or anything. I'm just gonna come out and say I think you will win it. Um, and here's why. I have my reasons. I'm going kind of out on a limb. Um, because I think most people would either pick me or Land. Um, but I think I just have a feeling about your team that you guys have been fast all season long. Um, and you guys have been really hungry, especially last weekend too. Like you guys were hungry just to make it in. And you carry that momentum with you guys now. And I think the race ultimately will come down to who wants it the most, and that will show on lap 85 who wants it the most, um, and what you're willing to do to win a championship. Um, I think everybody will be in contention. I think everybody's going to bring their A game and be fast. But I think, at the end of the day, sometimes the stories can change a little bit. I think um, there's been an automatic pick now for a while of either me or Land, but um, I don't know. I just have a feeling that you will step into that picture on Saturday, and I think on lap 85 you'll be the one walking away with it. But we'll have to see. I don't know.
All right, I respect that. I mean, I will say, me and Icy made this game like 4 years ago now. Obviously, it would mean a lot to me to win a championship with the game that we created. So there will be plenty of motivation for me, not just um, for how my season went, but just to win a championship in this league would definitely mean a lot. So we will be very motivated, but I'm sure everybody else will be too.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think this is probably the best championship four we've had in a little while now. I think there's some variety in this final four group, and uh, there, like I said, there's all different reasons of why we'd want to win it. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top at the end of the night. But I guess yeah, let's fit this in because we have an announcement to make, and then we'll get into next week's episode. So uh, let's go over just some of the ones who just missed out. So we talked about Kragus, and the season that he's had. Very, very close, just at least with how their year has gone or how their season has gone. Very close down to the wire last weekend, but they just missed out on the final four. Um, and Jax finished last in that round of six. He unfortunately could not make the race this past weekend, and yeah, he just missed out as well. But a great season for that 23 team. I think at the beginning of uh, this podcast and when we started talking about those to watch throughout the season, Jax was always circled. Um, you know, we didn't talk about him, but we had him circled. And he's been very fast week in and week out. Um, and I definitely think next season he will be winning races. If there is one guy that is going to have a breakout season, it will be Jax. Um, I'm not sure, what the future holds for some of the guys on the team, but just as far as um, if Jax sticks around, when we move over to Rokar, I definitely expect him to have a breakout season. And I'm looking forward to seeing what that team does next season. But what are your thoughts on Jax missing out?
Well, it was tough for him with the penalty. Uh, I mean, at that point, he was kind of in a must-win.
Yeah,
But had he not gotten that penalty and had he shown up, he would have been right in a points battle with me and Craigus. Um, and I put myself through that scenario. I've actually thought about it a few times. I wonder if the race would have gone any differently had Jack shown up. Um, because I expected him to show up with a lot of speed too. So I don't know. That's a hypothetical, obviously, but you never know. Like what might have happened had Jack shown up. So um, he had a chance at the championship. He had something come up, I guess, and just wasn't able to show up. But that team was one race away from a championship, and who knows? Maybe they would have been the ones to win the race had he shown up. So I don't know. Yeah, that team will definitely be competitive next season, and I do expect them to finally win a race next year.
yeah, I agree. Um, let's talk about Lego and Aiden. Let's talk about Lego first because Lego did not make it to the second round. And this one's tough because Lego's kind of had an up and down year, I would say. Um, he has been fast some weeks. He should have won some weeks, and I feel like that team has been really down on themselves this season, and it's definitely hindered their performance. I would say they had an okay season. It's nothing to be proud of, I would say, but they had an okay season. Um, I wish we were like grading them like on an A to F scale because that would have made this a lot easier.
Heck, we
But
could still do it. We've only gone through one.
yeah, um, well, let's do from Craigus at least. I would say Craigus, I'd probably give an A minus. Again, he just missed out. They had a great season though, and there's a lot more to be proud of than to not be proud of, I think, for that team. Um, and they definitely deserved to be in the championship for as much as anybody else on that final six. Um, but yeah, I think I give him an A minus. I'll give Jax a B. Um, Jax, again, had a good season. He was consistent, and that team really showed that they're prepared to win races, and they're here to stay. And I expect him to improve upon that and go out and win some races next year. So I would definitely give him a B. Um, he had a great season, but just missed out on that final four as well with that penalty.
Yeah, I I would give Craigus an A minus too, um, just because they missed the championship for is the only thing preventing me from giving that team an A plus. But they had an outstanding season. He got the most wins in a single season of his career. He ran up front almost every week, so um, yeah, they had a great season. Jax, I would probably give him like a C plus. Not anything with his on track performance, just his attendance issues. Um, to me, it feels like he was gone more weeks than he was there. But whenever he was there, he was very fast and competitive. But in order for me to really give that team a higher rating, I would need to see more consistent attendance, personally. And for Lego, I'd probably give that team like a C minus, just because they had a lot of chances to win races this season. Um, I just don't think that team was aggressive enough. They didn't make the blocks when they needed to late in races. One I'm thinking of specifically is Walt Disney. Land was coming up on him. Lego was leading the race, and Lego just kind of got out of the way and let Land by. And maybe I'm saying that wrong. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but um, I mean, I need to see like a killer instinct from that team next season. Um, like to win races in this league, you can't be scared to make blocks that are kind of dumb or kind of uh low low move blocks, you know. uh you just you kind of just have to, sometimes you kind of have to race like an asshole, if I'm being blunt. So I'm gonna need to see more of an edge on that team next season. I know they have what it takes. They were up front many times this year. New Hampshire, Walt Disney. I'm sure I'm missing a few races, but they had chances to seal the deal. He just has to race more aggressive. Um, and I think Aiden. Okay, yeah, Aiden.
Wait, I think we should
I'd
go
get.
driver by driver.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So
because
I think we've
I'm
both done those three, right?
I didn't do Lego. I was getting into him. I
Okay,
didn't give him a grade though.
okay.
I'm gonna agree with you though. I'm gonna give him a C minus. They had a lot of chances to win, and they let it slip away. Um, there was something off with the speed with that team this year. Like they were seconds behind, or they were off the pace some weeks. And just really a disappointing season. I would characterize, and he is leaving Chevy to go to Ford. He is taking my seat next year. So I'll be interested to see how that maybe changes. And, um, you know, I am stepping into more of a competition role. So, part of my role will be trying to prep him for next season and, get him into the winning mindset. I think being at BSR, he's made some gains, but I think he definitely is still improving as a driver, and definitely needs to, I guess, just lock in and have that winning mindset, and doing whatever it takes to go out and win. I just don't think the team has shown me or you at all that they can go out and be aggressive all the way down to the wire, and make the moves that are necessary to win races. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, uh,
they have what it takes. It's just
yeah,
uh, I just need to see it from them.
yeah. Um, in terms of Aiden, I don't know. I don't really know what to give him. I would say I would
It's
probably give
yeah,
Aiden maybe like a C plus. Um, Aiden at times this year was fast. They were in contention. They had a couple races where maybe they should have won the race, or at least been close. But again, they let it slip away, and they kind of gave away a couple chances to um, to win some races. But I will give them the benefit of the doubt that they did make the playoffs. It's unfortunate too because some races he couldn't be there, so he did miss out on some points. But they did make the playoffs, so that is something to at least have as a plus, and something they can work on progressing next season. But yeah, definitely maybe another down season for them.
Yeah, I Aiden really just had like a roller coaster of a year. Um, like I don't even know what to give them. They were just up and down all season. Aiden is a very talented driver, um, and he has championship forward potential. I mean, he almost made it last season, but I don't know. That team just kind of had an off year. I think they were off more often than not. So yeah, I would agree with a C plus, but I really would have liked to see that team win a race this season, honestly, especially with the longer season. I could say the same about Lego too. I feel like with the longer season, there were plenty of opportunities for a lot of these drivers to get a win. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Wendigo, it took him till the end to get one too. So I don't know. I just feel like there were a lot of chances for drivers to get wins, but I would have just liked to see more out of that team. But all things considered, they had a okay season. I just know that that team is capable of more.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Slater, we can talk about Slater and Icy, and I guess we can just leave Rondo out because he was kind of there at the beginning and then faded. So we'll wrap up with Icy, but Slater, I think is a missed opportunity. If there's like two words that I could use to describe the season, I think it was a missed opportunity. When they show up, they're fast. Um, and most weeks that he was there, he could have been in contention for the win. Uh, and unfortunately, just came up short, or he got involved in somebody else's mess, or was in the way. Um, and most weeks he didn't show up, just attendance wise. But uh, I definitely, I definitely think it's a season of disappointment and missed opportunities for that team. And I don't know if they'll be back next season. I don't know if they'll be back, but at least grading this season, I would probably give them a D plus. I know I'm going like
Mm,
way down under, but he didn't
yeah,
really attend many races this year compared to the more active guys. So just
I think
I'm a little disappointed, but
I think he only attended like one or two. And the thing is the races he did show up to, he was competitive in them. He showed up to Darlington and he was leading late in the race with the chance to win. I can't think of any other ones that he may have attended. Um, yeah, I mean, it sucks because he's on my team, but I would probably have to give him an F just because he has championship potential. Like if Slater put together a full season, I could see him winning a championship. Um, and I don't know. Yeah, I know it's not performance related; it's just attendance. But that team is just capable of so much, and it's really upsetting to not see it come to fruition.
yeah, I agree. I don't know about the championship thing. I think they'd go out and win a ton of races, but
I
uh,
think let me rephrase that. I think they could make a championship four
yeah, they could make a
if they
championship
put
run,
together a
but
full season. Yeah,
I think it would just depend on the circumstances. If you still have a land, or if you still have like a
yeah,
you, for example, um, or just somebody who has experience with being in the championship four and handling the pressure. Um, but I think they
yeah.
could definitely make a run for it. But I don't know. But let's move on to Icy, because I guess I don't think we'll ever know either with Slater. That's the thing, because he's kind of here one minute,
Inactive.
gone the next. So
Yeah.
it'll be hard to tell in the future if he sticks around. But um, let's move on to Icy, because Icy. has had an interesting year. His final race wrapped up last weekend in Milwaukee, where he finished second. Um, Icy has had a he's had an interesting year. Um, he won a race, locked himself in early, and attendance became an issue. So he withdrew from the playoffs, and that opened up a spot um, for the playoffs. But kind of here and there throughout the season, he's been at a few races, and whenever he's been there, he's been fast. He's been contending, and he's definitely been in the conversation. So I think like my main thing is just hoping to see them more active next season if he does stick around again. I would like to see the team stick around because when they're in the race, they are fast and very competitive. But at least for grading wise, I would probably have to give them maybe uh, I'd probably have to give them a C. Um, I think just the attendance is what killed it for me. I think if they had remained locked in and he went for a championship run and was active, that grade would definitely be a lot higher. And you know, I think uh, they could definitely make a deep playoff run. But it's just the attendance that really did it for me. And you know, they weren't really able to make any noise after that win. Uh, they were fast and consistent, but didn't really make any noise for me. But I'll go to you later.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'm grading off of just the races he attended, I would give him an A plus. Because looking at the points, he got a top five in every race that he ran. He was fast all season long, but I mean, obviously, if we look at the season as a whole, I would probably have to give him a C as well. Just because, just like Slater, I know that that team is capable of so much more. Um, if they were able to attend a full season, I could see IC being in the championship for as well. And we've never really gotten to see that with IC, a full season. So I know he has a lot of things going on in his personal life, but it is disappointing to not be able to see that team's full potential. But for what he did, I mean, he had an outstanding season. It is just a little bit upsetting that we can't see a full season with that team.
Yeah, I agree. It will be interesting to see though if he ever decides to make a deep playoff run in the future.
Yeah.
Um, all right, cool. Let's move on then. So kind of gave a little bit of grading, and I think next week we can probably grade the championship four. I think maybe that would be probably best to do next week. But we have a little announcement to make just regarding the future of the podcast. So we are going to be sticking around. Our podcast has been renewed for season two. We are going to be moving over to Rocar, as we adjust over there. We will move the podcast over. Nothing will change though. Um, we'll still be making episodes every week, and I'll still be here with Laner. Um, our hope is that maybe the door opens for another podcast starting next season. It would be nice to see somebody else maybe starting a podcast. We're glad to have been the ones to start it, but it would be nice to see somebody else maybe step up if they choose or feel motivated um, to start one. But at least for our future, we're going to be sticking around. And after next week, we'll be taking a little bit of a break, but we will be back at the top of next season. So um, definitely very excited for that. And yeah, I don't know if you want to say anything later, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm really excited to keep the podcast going, especially with all of the unknowns, I guess, for next season. Um, with the league switching over and possibly new cars and everything. It'll be really exciting to be able to get on the podcast and talk about everything. So definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think if you thought this season was good, I think you're in for a treat next season. We're definitely looking forward to just what we can talk about. And I don't even know how that first episode will go next season, but uh, we're very much looking forward to it, and we hope you will tune in uh, for season two. Um, Hopefully, I don't know when season whatever will start in Rokar. I don't know if we're going back to the beginning with that or if we're continuing, but um, I hope, at least my hope is that we can still bring you guys some content throughout the week, and just take an hour out of your day to listen to what our two dumbasses have to say, I guess. But we are just two guys that love to shit talk, I guess is like a good way to put it. But we have a great time, putting this together for everybody, and it definitely hasn't been easy running this all season long. We've definitely got some criticism, and we've had to rethink about if we wanted to do this. But the only reason we're doing this is because we enjoy doing it. If we didn't enjoy doing it, then why would we? Um, so yeah, just be aware of the changes that will be coming over the next several weeks to months, and we'll be moving with those changes. So yeah, definitely stay tuned. We'll have more coming in the future. Um, Something I didn't include was the rate the race. Do you want to just rate Milwaukee? Because I kind of don't even want to rate Vegas and Pocono, like, to be honest.
Yeah. um, I mean, I guess I would give Milwaukee like an 80, 85. I thought it was really exciting. I mean, me and Craigus were both in contention all the way to the end. Um, so it from a viewer's perspective, I'm sure it was exciting. Uh, I mean, he was up front a lot too, so it definitely was enticing from a viewer's perspective. I enjoyed it obviously, but yeah, I'd give it like an 85.
Okay. I say I'm gonna give it an 80. Um, and the racing was beautiful, and just everybody was really clean with each other, and the only thing that like didn't really help was that the tires wore so fast. I think like more than I wanted them to, at least. Um, it was a longer race, so I felt like we had like a million pit stops. And it didn't really help with if people wanted to stay out, it kind of forced people to pit road, um, or else you were done until the next caution. So that was like the only thing that kind of annoyed me a little bit. But besides that, I think the racing was great, and I love how everybody respected each other and respected each other's space, and didn't really cause any problems. So um, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how we wrap it up this weekend. Um,
Me too.
Anything else you want to say?
No, I'm looking forward to Texas though. Hopefully we have a good viewership since a lot of people will not. I don't know if people will be able to actually show up to the track or not. I don't think anything's has been released about that, but I'm assuming that the server is going to be locked for everybody that's not. If you don't need to be there, I don't think you're going to be allowed to be there. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. So, if you do want to watch the race, you'll probably have to catch it on the YouTube channel, unless you're a commentator or officiator or whatever. So
Yeah,
that's
I
my
I agree.
understanding, at least.
Yeah, I don't think there's gonna be like any general spectators, we should say,
Yeah,
allowed at the track on Saturday. So if you are planning on watching the race, definitely plan on watching it through the stream, and probably you could probably join after the race is over. Um,
yeah.
but what would I? Yeah. Um, One thing I will ask you is what's one word to describe this weekend for you?
For my team or just for the whole league?
for your team.
Opportunity.
Okay. You don't have to explain
But
anything.
what
Just
about you?
um there's a lot of words I could use, but if I had to use one, it's probably oh damn. I asked it and I didn't even know what my response was gonna be. Um if I had one word, I'd probably say um I want to use opportunity, but like you already used it. So I'm trying to think of something else. Um I don't know. Um I would say, no, you know what? I'll use the word I've been saying all season long. Chaos. I think it's going to be chaos this weekend, and for our team, it's going to be chaos. Trying to see who's going to come out on top. All right, well, that does it from us. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Next week, we will have an episode after the championship race where we'll recap the season. Hopefully, maybe we can have the champion stop by. If it's not us two, we can have them stop by and preview all things next season and recap this season as well as it comes to a close. But we'll have another episode and then we will be on a break for a little while. So um, we hope to see you guys after the race this weekend. Somebody will walk away with the trophy next to me here in this corner. And we don't know. It'll either be myself, you, later, or it'll be Lander or Wendigo. So it'll be interesting to see. Definitely tune in this weekend. Remember, everything kicks off at 7:30 with practice. 7:45 is qualifying, and the green flag will fly at 8 p.m. 85 laps of racing to determine a champion. Definitely tune in this weekend. It's going to be very exciting, and we hope you will tune in. Catch us next week as we'll wrap things up. Good night, everybody.
See you guys.